What I'm most excited about is the value of education in this community, education and innovation. I was pleased to be there when we were first announcing the first charging stations for electric vehicles. The first wind turbine technician academy in the country was here, and I was very proud to help bring in the resources for that. Right here at Kalamazoo. I'll never forget when the president was trying to decide where to go to recognize a school for valuing education. And I said to him directly, I said, you have to go to Kalamazoo. I said, there is no place in Michigan or the country that has made that kind of a statement about the public school system and children going to college. I want to talk for a second about the 5-year farm bill that we write and we just passed out of committee last week for just a minute. You may think, geez, what do I want to talk about the farm bill for? Because I just want to share with you that in the midst of everybody saying nobody works together, nothing can get done, it's all incredibly partisan, we in agriculture have worked very, very hard to change that. Last fall, when we passed something called the Budget Control Act, instead of the regular budget, we passed a 2-year caps on spending in each area. Each committee was asked to recommend cuts. And this super committee was supposed to come up with a large plan based on that. I reached out to my Republican colleague in the House, Frank Lucas from Oklahoma, very different states. I said, Frank, you and I really care about this stuff together. Let's work together and let's do this right. And so we had our top 2 Republicans, top 2 Democrats sit down and we negotiated a bipartisan House Senate recommendation of $23 billion in cuts in agriculture-related programs. That's the good news. The bad news is we were the only committee that did it. And so the super committee did not complete its work. But we decided we were going to take that over into the regular process of writing a 5-year farm bill. And we did that this last week against tremendous odds, and I'm very proud of that. And one of the things that we did is we said, you know, we need to look at everything in agriculture. We need to look at everything in the federal government. What works, what doesn't work, what's duplication. And we made major reforms. We consolidated nearly 100 different programs in the Department of Agriculture. We eliminated something called direct payments, which are the complaints all the time you hear about government payments going to folks during good times, wealthy farmers getting these government payments when the prices are high. Makes no sense, can't afford it, shouldn't have been doing it. And we actually got support to eliminate it. $5 billion a year. We're eliminating direct payments, and we're only going to pay for things that are actually planted. Now that may seem like a no-brainer, but we've had in place policies that if you had cotton or rice or corn or whatever 20 years ago and you weren't planting it now, you get a program payment based on what you grew 20 years ago. Now this may sound easy, this was very hard. It's very hard to make those changes. But we did it, and we did it on a bipartisan basis. $23 billion. We also went back and looked at all the great conservation programs we have, and they're very important to us. Everything we do on working lands, everything we do to protect our water, we have a very important Great Lakes initiative that deals with runoff, erosion, working with our farmers, water quality, all goes through the Farm Bill. But over the years, every time somebody had a good idea, they just added another program. So there were 23 different programs. So we went back, we cut that back to 13 and put him in 4 different buckets. We gave him a lot of flexibility. And we ended up saving $6 billion by doing it, and we didn't take away any of the conservation programs. We've gone through a number of other areas to tighten things up, where retailers, there's been a problem, in liquor stores and so on, things have been abused, tighten it up. Didn't do anything. In fact, we've expanded the food bank funding, and we have expanded other areas of need, but we tightened things up and said, you know what, we need to hold programs accountable, but they also need to be there. So I say all of this just to say that people can work together if they want to. You have to, if people want to, there's absolutely no reason that they can't work together. And I'm proud that we've been able to do that in many, many different ways. Let me talk about making things for a second, because the other area that we are very focused on, not just with autos, but you know, we make a lot of things. We make medical devices. Nobody does that better than Stryker. We make all kinds of aerospace and new technology for tractors. Anybody been on a tractor lately and used GPS? When you talk about how to apply pesticides today, you can measure it every few inches, adjust the soil content, and adjust how much pesticides are applied. It's amazing. Making things, growing things, new technologies around batteries, biotechnology, what we're doing in agriculture, all very, very important. But in the end analysis, I really believe this is about our ability to work together, our ability to out-innovate, out-educate. Nobody's leading the way more than you are, and outbuild the competition in a global economy. Today, I've also been announcing a new initiative that builds on the idea that we need to make things here. You know, we're in a global economy. We want to sell our goods and sell around the world. We want to export our products, but not our jobs. And we need to make sure our tax policy helps that. We need to make sure that we're having fair trade policy that encourages our businesses to be able to sell overseas without trade barriers. And one of the areas that we found in our tax code that needs to get fixed and has caused me to focus on a new bill called Bring Jobs Home Act is that right now in the code, if a company packs up, moves overseas, we allow them to write off their entire cost of moving, the cost of moving the plant. I don't think that makes sense. So the new initiative would eliminate that, but say if you're overseas and you want to come back, you can write off all of those costs and we'll give an additional 20% tax credit on top of it if you will come back. We need to make sure everywhere in our system we are encouraging people to make things here, grow things here, because the jobs will be here if that's what we do. Harry Truman once said, America was not built on fear. America was built on courage, on imagination, and an unbeatable determination to do the job at hand. I think he was talking about Michigan. Thanks very much.